Today we're looking at the Thirard Axira, also known as the Cobra. And it's similar to the FTH Surveyor, except it has this interactive element here. We have the key for the Thirard Axira. It's just like the FTH Surveyor. It's a tubular key with fins to push down the 5 sliders, excuse me. Except, of course, we have this interactive element in the key that pushes that interactive pin to just the right depth. The key works as one would imagine it would. The tensioner is made from a takeout box wire. And as usual with fridge locks, the tensioning is the hardest part. Turns out that the 12 o'clock pin actually needs to be pushed in really deep. So using it to hold the tensioner works actually pretty well. Like the FTH Surveyor, there is a pin in the chamber that can be used to rotate the core at the 6 o'clock position. But that particular pin, that particular hole, is a bit fatter on the Axira, and it makes it difficult to get a pin to stay in that hole. Up here we just check the interactive element. One thing I've learned about this lock is when tapping that 4 o'clock pin, if I can tap it, if my tensioner doesn't shift just a tiny bit, 3 or 4 degrees, then I don't think my 12 o'clock pin is set quite to the right depth. It's either not deep enough or too deep. It's very finicky, just down to fractions of a millimeter. So we can try adjusting it down. If we can try pulling it back out a little bit. Just want to wiggle out just the tiniest bit, tiny bit. There you go. And try again. Once that 4 o'clock pin sets, it's not quite wanting to set. Sometimes it takes a little bit of fiddling. And finding just the right amount of tension is challenging too. So try pushing it back in a little bit. Maybe I got pulled out a little too far. And that twist right there, you can see where it shifted just a few degrees. That shows me that the number 4 o'clock pin is set or near set. And now the typical tubular dance of push a couple, check, push a couple, check, waiting until it feels just the right bounciness and shifts just enough. I have found that for this particular lock, the 10 o'clock pin is the hardest to set. The 8 o'clock pin is the pin that sets just before you can use the 4 o'clock pin to get the open, which we'll hopefully get here soon. Turns out that as it's twisting some, the shafts where you need to stick the pin, the pick, the probe, stop lining up so nicely with the entrances on the surface. So you have to kind of lever your way in there. Up, and we have our open. You can see it's twisted almost 60 degrees. You can see the pin shafts are down. And let's go ahead and push it all the way open. Click. So that's one rotation, 60 degrees. And you can see the interactive element is now from the 6 o'clock position to the 8 o'clock position. So let's gut this guy, see what's inside. Take off the retaining clip off the back. And when you slide out, remember that there's an interactive pin. Uh-oh. I forgot there's an interactive pin. And I'm going to spend a few moments here looking for the spring, because I'm very disappointed that the spring disappeared. Yeah. Fortunately, I looked later and I actually found the spring just sitting right inside the lock chamber. Now, the Axira has split sidebars. The sidebars are actually made of 2 of these crescent pieces. Each sidebar is made of 2 of these crescent pieces. Unfortunately, whenever I was cleaning the lock, I lost one of the crescents, so I only have 3 of the 4. It still works fine, but it's not quite stock, which is quite disappointing. Now we can remove the retaining clip off the top that holds the pins in place. The sliders, excuse me. In place, pops right off, and start taking the sliders out. If we think of the 6 o'clock position as down, then I think of the 4 o'clock is the far right and working our way around to where the 8 o'clock is our far left. You can see as we pull them out, they have the sidebar grooves. That one is way up high on the pin, so that means it's going to be a deep pin. And we'll take a better look here in a moment. Get them all out. All 5 of the springs inside are the same, so we'll just dump those and not worry too much about being precise with them. Count, make sure there are indeed 5. There are 5, good. And now let's... Nothing else left in there. Taking everything out that we can possibly take out. There's the sidebar groove. Now we can zoom in on the pins. And you can see each of the pins have their little sidebar groove. The number 4 pin there, that one, it's very at the bottom, because you barely have to tap that pin in to get it to work. Notice that each of these pins has multiple false gates, which makes it actually lock nicely. I hope you enjoyed the Thirard Axira. Thank you.